Hello Ali, first of all thank you very much for stepping forward and asking me to do a reading for you. As much as you feel like I'm helping you, you're really helping me because I'm able to practice, and it's a big thing for someone to volunteer to, you know, have somebody dip in to their personal life and see what they can find. So I really appreciate it. What I want to do for you today, I can't remember what spread I did for you last time. It was probably a Celtic cross. I'm probably going to do that now again. I'm going to use my normal deck and this one. This one's more of like a keyword deck that kind of gives me some clarity about each thing I'm talking about, whereas this one is more like quite descriptive pictures and stuff. So I'm going to do a Celtic cross, which gives me a good idea of everything going on in your life. And then I'm going to do this. It's home, work, relationships and money, and in each position it will tell me something about what you've got in store for you. So that's always exciting. I can't remember what I did for you before, so let's just hope this is a little bit different. It's probably the exact same. Anyway, so let's begin. By the way, your reading is the first reading I've done in my new home. I recently moved. And right now I haven't told anyone on YouTube officially yet, so very, very exciting. And also just I'm just, you know, when you're equally excited about something and equally like crapping yourself about it, that's exactly how I feel. But it feels really nice to do this in my own space. Like, it feels lovely. Okay, by the way, I love the picture that you sent me. You look so good in yellow and that dress is adorable. Let's begin. So in the middle of everything going on right now, you're represented by the Knight of Pentacles. In general, the Knight of Pentacles, he's hardworking, he's productive, he has a good routine, and he's a very slow and steady wins the race kind of man. He's not in a hurry. Any person that's on a horse does mean they're on a journey in tarot, but if he's standing still, it means he's on a journey very slowly, like he's not making any rash decisions or rash movements right now. So that means he's probably there's a lot of planning involved with what he's doing right now, and it's always going to be about work towards something of his dreams. So working towards his dreams of some sort, or just goals, ambitions, whatever it is you've got going on. There's an awful lot of thinking ahead and planning your approach right now, and it's a lot of effort. You know, this knight, he knows exactly what it is, and he's working towards exactly how to get there in a very detailed, methodical and hard-working way. It might not be like an obvious thing, like he's not maybe initially super inspiring, like he kind of gets on with it in his own way. Like he's not there to show off and be flashy and be creative and be like, oh, listen to like all of my ideas. He kind of gets on with it in his own way, and then the results will come in afterwards, and he will then prove to other people exactly how great he is, if that makes sense. This is a gradual process, so it's plodding along. Keep on keeping on, this card would say to you, and stick to your path and have a relentless focus because it's needed at this time. And I'm going to be honest, like I said, he's not a flashy card. Sometimes this can just be the most mundane and boring aspects of life. But the daily grind and like repetitive schedule, chores, other responsibilities, obligations, it's stuff that you kind of have to do. You have to commit a lot of time to do, but you'll make it through to the end successfully with his kind of approach. Because at the end of the day, it might seem mundane sort of stuff that's not very typically exciting, but he's doing it because at the end he gets to where he wants to be in life. So there's always some kind of dream at the end of it. It's a bit like having to fill in a load of forms to get the house that you want to move into. Like that bit's going to be mundane, but eventually, like you remind yourself while you're doing it, all the time you're saying, well, this is a bit boring, but I have to do it to get to here, for instance. So it's not exactly exciting, but it's about being on the right path. And it's about routine and careful planning. So if we look at the thing that's coming across that as an obstacle working against you, or if it's a positive card, it can be for you, we see justice. Okay, so justice obviously is about being fair, just. Law as well, this can sometimes be legal matters. So like I said about papers, a good example, I'm not saying this is necessarily what you're going through, but a good example would be having to do like the boring parts of a process to get things to feel justified, kind of, sometimes it is legal paperwork, like you kind of have to do all of that to get an outcome that works more so in your favor. That's just an example. I'm not necessarily pointing to that as you're reading, but it can also just mean your actions at this time are going to be accounted for, judged in a way. There might be something going on in your life that for whatever reason you're having to be assessed in a certain way. Ooh, well, this could work for you or against you depending on which way the scales fall, really. So I can't necessarily say whether it's going to end up going your way or not, because it is a card that crosses him. So I feel more likely to say it could, like, justice might not necessarily be served in your situation, but we'll look at what the other cards kind of point to, because that will help me make the decision. Because sometimes this card can be about regret, doing something that we probably shouldn't have. Sometimes it's being ready to kind of take responsibility of your actions and to stand accountable in a way. The justice in general is always going to be about making an important choice and making an important decision with definitely potential long-term repercussions. I can't speak. So just basically be aware right now of the decisions that you make for your own well-being and the well-being of other people. Now, I'm saying this in a really like petrifying way. I'm not saying it's anything massive, but it's just about choosing consciously and kind of putting out there, I don't know what you believe in, but I would just kind of say out to the universe, I'll be like, what is the best decision for all of those concerned in my situation? And then, like, whatever kind of intuition, gut feeling you get, just work with that. You know, you could say, do I stand by my decisions and accept the consequences that will come with that? And if you answer to yourself and you say you can't, then keep on thinking what is the right thing for you to do, what feels right, and what feels the most truthful. And the more you discover your truth, you will discover things aren't as clear-cut as you may have originally thought them out to be. Because this is about being fair, this is about being ethical. And he has some scales here because the card represents balance with it being justice. So balance might be something that you find difficult to achieve in your life right now because of there being an issue of, you know, right and wrong. Maybe an area in your life that needs justice and you might not be experiencing it right now. So combining these two together with the planning and with the balance aspect of both of these cards, so a balanced, carefully thought through plan may actually make sense to be an obstacle because it does not inspire your action, you know. So it might be something that you're kind of having to do because it's right. I hope this makes sense. So all in all, if things don't feel, you know, in your favor right now, clearly that's going to be an obstacle right now. And at the end of the day, even if this is somebody else's doing for making you feel this way, or even if it's your own, if you're making something kind of not fair or not being truthful about something, at the end of the day, this card's always about keeping that balance back into the foreground again. So just remain focused on, I think the most important part of this to me right now, every reading it can change, like certain parts of the image can come up a bit more brighter than they did in someone else's reading, like the same card, but I'm focusing more on the scales. I feel like this might be representing balance, and that's why you're having to do some planning and thinking ahead to do with something which at this point in time isn't very balanced. God, that was a really long description. So let's move on to the next one. I'm going to do your root card now. This is just basically why things are the way they are and the cause of effect of everything going on. You've got the Four of Swords card. This is about rest, whether that's just to take a break for self-care or whether that is to do with health, like it's about looking after yourself because recently you haven't been too well, or it's just taking a pause, it's taking a peaceful reflection, which I feel like does go quite well with the Knight of Pentacles, because he has to kind of he doesn't take a step back, he's still moving forward, but he is thinking ahead. He's not this type of person to do something about thinking it through. So there's definitely been time recently where you've had to stop and reflect over things, and maybe you're already aware of this lack of balance and you're trying to make everything a lot more harmonic. Every different person, the reading can be representing something different. So in one person's world, this might be recently recovering over an illness or something. I'm feeling like more like meditation vibes. I don't know why. You might not necessarily be meditating, but it might be something that you're kind of doing in your own way. Like, people think meditation is just kind of sitting here doing this, but it's, you can be listening to music, you can be in the bath, you can be doing your makeup, and that's like therapeutic to you because you can reflect whilst doing so. Anyway, we'll move on. So I'm going to do, so that card we just did was like the back part of your brain. The next card I'm going to do is more like the forward part of your brain, as in the things that you're actually thinking about all the time and working towards. It's like your wants, hopes and needs, that kind of card. The things that are important to you right now. And you've got the Ten of Cups, which is the family life card. So this is one of my favorite cards. This is something that would come up a lot for me when it comes to things that I really want right now, because I'm not necessarily saying I want family, like to make my own family, but it's just a really lovely card. Like, it's colorful, it's bright, there's kids running around, there's like a mum and dad, and there's a rainbow, and I just think it's a really lovely card because Cups is emotional as well. So this is like, to me, this just screams like being stuck in the feeling of, like, you know when they say you're stuck in the honeymoon stage, it's a bit like that but with family life. So like, it reminds me of like a storybook page. Like, it reminds me of the last page of a storybook. So it's like the fairy tale ending with a happy family, and colors, and, you know, being expressive and emotional, but in a calm, rational way, not like sad emotions. Just being free and expressive with those emotions. So that's something that I would say really drives you and motivates you, because this is very, this like screams harmony, right? And this to me is, as an obstacle, it might be saying like, right now things aren't very there isn't a lot of harmony, and that might be something that you just like really desire for. But we'll keep on looking because I don't want to say too much until I've seen all the cards. So in the recent past, you've got Nine of Pentacles. This is a lovely card. This is very in touch with nature. This is having some form of like financial abundance, really. Like, she's kind of enjoying the money that she's worked hard to get. I'm not saying she's about blowing the money. There's some cards here that can represent like over indulging, but she's just kind of like enjoying the hard work that she's put into something. It's kind of like having a little holiday, having a little break after doing something for so long, and she's just kind of like loving being outside. She's she's a female who's financially independent as well, so she's a very independent and strong woman. But obviously it does depend on what you connect with this as well, because the only kind of danger, I suppose, that comes with this card is how it might be affecting you now, because sometimes if you've got something like this in the past, you might be finding it harder now to relate to being in a less privileged position, for example. So if someone, I'm not saying this is you, but I'm saying if someone who was quite spoiled as a kid had this in their past, and then in their future card, I haven't seen your future card yet, but if in their future card it was more like poverty stricken, that kind of thing, then this person's obviously dealing with like a massive shift in their lifestyle. So it's about being grateful for where you've come from, and being grateful for what you've had, and never staying out of touch with that. Like, it's okay, things aren't always, you're not always going to be in this position of this woman, and that's fine. If we were, we'd all be lazy as hell and no one would do anything, because even though this is quite a nice temporary card to get, we can't always be stuck in that position of her, because this doesn't really talk much about being loved or like emotions or satisfaction spiritually, if that makes sense. Whereas, you know, this is so much of what you want. Although this does refer to so much of like blissful kind of feelings, having it all, having the best of the best. But at the end of the day, the Pentacle suit is only representing physical things. It's tangible stuff, things you can hold. It's not relationships. This is your hopes and dreams here. So sure, this looks nice. It's very great to be surrounded in lovely things and have financial wealth, but I feel like there's more of a desire for you to be more in touch with some emotional parts of your life. So what's interesting, I keep going back to this, I just feel like this reading is connecting readings can just literally connect with whatever part of your life that they want to bring up the most. So for yours, I feel like there's something where things aren't necessarily working in the way that you would desire for them to be, in a faithful and not faithful, in a truthful, I keep saying the word balanced, but balanced, justified way. And you kind of like want that so much, so you just want everyone to be happy and to get along. And there's obviously some reasoning behind all of this going on to do connected with, this can be taking a break from work, by the way. This all could be connected with, it could be an illness or some sort, it could be some form of rest, or we'll keep moving because I'm still trying to like connect this all together. So your near future card, we've done your near past. Near future, we have 8 of Wands. So in a general sense, this is usually quick, sudden movement and fast opportunity of some sort, because Wands are about ideas and enthusiasm. So these are supposed to be like flying through the air and they're about to hit the floor, if you can kind of visualize that. But having it in the future is a bit about opportunity, like I said, but it wants you to kind of be assured that big things are coming, like the vision you have for the way things should be might actually start to occur, and that will probably be down to the Knight of Pentacles. So you've got to stay upbeat and look for signs that things are starting to turn your way in order for you to not kind of give up and for you to carry on with it. And the minute you see some form of action or something coming into place, like signs, kind of, the minute you see something, you've got to put that positive energy out there as quick as possible, and then you just let it will return to you. Honestly, I promise you, the minute that you open up to something coming through is the minute it will come through. If you shut it down, if you start seeing like the start of something that you want so much to happen, and you shut it down and say, oh, I'm probably just being silly, that is the minute it will turn away and not even consider coming to see you anymore. We can do another few cards just to see what this might be pointing to, but the annoying thing about the 8 of Wands is it just represents opportunity and it's progression, but it's not very specific. So it's just basically saying things are coming. I can't necessarily tell you what it is, but things are moving, that's for sure, which is nice to see after the Knight of Pentacles, because, you know, you've obviously been stable for a little bit for whatever reason. Also, this would say if there's any like new ideas or new projects, if anything pops up in your life soon that represents a change, like something quite new and refreshing, I would go for that, because this is something new and different. So if you were to block something like that off, I think that would be a bad move to make, because this kind of promises a lot of potential with whatever is in the air within the next few weeks. And this card in this position particularly screams good things will come to those who wait. And I say that because it's usually something sudden and quick. Like I said, this card represents very fast motion, so it might be something that out of the blue one day you just have to make a choice, a decision, and you just kind of go with it. Next minute you're like, holy crap, imagine if that one decision that just popped out of nowhere for whatever reason didn't happen. It's like a sort of about, it's not about making, I don't want to get confused, I don't want to confuse you and say make rash decisions. It's not about making rash decisions. It's just about not taking a long time to make a decision. Acting quickly and acting on impulse are two very different ball games. But I will say, when it comes to being presented with some sort of choice in the future, ask yourself things like, how do they affect me? How do they affect my friends and my family? And don't dwell too much over it, don't overthink. Just consider the outcomes and then go with it. So that's interesting. We'll keep moving. So this is your approach towards everything right now, your kind of general attitude towards things going on. The Death card. So this is cutting something, like tying ends with something old, bringing in something new. You definitely have a desire, your approach, your attitudes towards things right now is very much about out with the old, in with the new. You're done, you're like, I'm off to make new plans, I'm off to make new decisions, I'm off to do something different. And I think you will get that something different that you're after. It's about sacrifice in a way, like, because saying goodbye to the stuff that no longer serves you is a little bit of a sacrifice, because we don't necessarily know how the thing that you're bringing in is going to go. So it's a little bit of a sacrifice card, But the death card, people get scared of it because they think it literally means death. The death card is actually the opposite. It's about birthing something new and brighter and bigger and better. As you can see, he's walking towards this sun here. So even though this looks all scary, I kind of see it as like this is doom and gloom, and he's walking away from that anyway. I mean, he looks like a scary little skeleton man on a horse, but at the end of the day, remember I said any tarot cards with horses on mean gradual movement. He's not running. I mean, he's definitely walking a bit more than this one. This one's standing still. He's still doing it slow and steady, but you're having to make plans to do with the thing that you're walking into because it's new. Anything new like that, you're not having to make plans if you're staying in the same position all the time. Like, this is definitely something that requires you to make some big decisions right now. Get excited about it because this is something that you really want. So that's really exciting. This next card is your kind of environment, the people around you. Interesting, right? So you have the death card, and then you've got a loss card as your environment. So it's interesting because this is your environment. This is the people around you. This could possibly be a little bit of how you are feeling as well. But for me, I always read this position as the environment around you, the energy around you right now as other people. But it depends how you hear this, because this is more so about loss and mourning over something that no longer is a thing. Now, to be fair, I'm not predicting any future things here. To be fair, you do have, like, this is loss, this is mourning. This can represent, like, I know she's supposed to be resting, but you have the death card as well. So I don't know if there's anything in your life that you're physically missing, someone literally who's no longer with you anymore, but I'm just going to put that as just like a thing on the side because I'm not 100% sure about that. This isn't a prediction. I would never ever predict death or something. I'm just saying there seems to be like a lot of kind of loss, out with the old. This could be just emotionally, it could be a job, it could be a person, a friendship, a relationship. It could actually be a literal physical person. But it's interesting because if these cards, oh god, it's gone really dark all of a sudden. Where's that come from? It's interesting because both of these cards, if they were from your own perspective, I would assume this to be quite a sad thing. Like it's leaving something old and grieving over it and mourning over it and being sad over it. But I feel like people around you, someone around you might be mourning over that death card. The way you're approaching the situation, they might not feel the same about it as you do. I get that feeling with this. This might be linked to you, but I'm trying to go with my own intuition here and trust my gut. And I'm saying there's people around you that might not have the same approach and opinion as you do. Someone's living in the past a little bit, rethinking the decisions that were made before, maybe regretting them. There's a little bit of depression with this card because it's just sorrow. It's interesting because to me, I feel like with this card, sorry, it's getting darker by the minute and I'm literally like not gonna be able to see you soon. Oh god, now I've just, hold on a second. Why did I decide to film in front of a window? But with this card, to me, I feel as though it really just depends on how you can relate to that person in your environment around you, blah blah blah. Because if you feel so confident and sure about something that you're doing, and if, like I said earlier, if everyone considered is okay and you're not harming anyone and you're happy with your decisions, like, remember to stay true to you. And it might be very difficult if the energy around you is, because when I'm around people that are sad about something, it really affects me. Like, I can feel that heavily and I kind of I mirror their feelings. I hate it. If you're an empath, then it means that you kind of do that. You soak in all those energies and you reflect it yourself. And yeah, anyway, so with that in mind, as long as you're staying true to you and no harm is being given anywhere, not saying that it is, but because what I'm seeing, right, in your environment here, I'm seeing this, and kind of like where you wish for it to be, I'm seeing this. So for me, that kind of just screams that the people around you, the house that you're in, the colleagues around you, your relationships, your partner, I don't know, but they don't exactly mirror each other, like the wants and the actual way it is. But what will help us with this situation is the next two cards mostly, which are the advice position and the far future. So we'll see how things are going to go and how things are going to feel for you soon. So as advice, this is my favorite card ever to read. And you have the Ace of Swords. So this kind of helps me a little bit. So the Sword card is always about communication and truth. So putting those two things together, this is about speaking the truth, communicating your truth right now, which does link a lot to justice. So with all the things considered in this reading today, the Ace of Swords will symbolize a new opportunity or breakthrough, like we spoke about before. So it's seizing the opportunity, seizing the day, blah blah blah. But it's also about dealing with conflict. So if there is anything right now that resonated with you during this reading, which I feel like would be crazy if it didn't, because I'm literally talking absolute nonsense then, but all these cards do really link, because this is about speaking up for yourself and defending yourself, and it's about being courageous and assertive. There might be some form of like force that needs to be taken here, so don't kind of shy away about it. Know your worth and explain your truth and show that you're truthful, you know, prove that you're truthful, and do whatever it is that you need to do in your power to demonstrate like what it is that you need to show to people who may not be believing and trusting in you at this point. And this isn't about waiting for someone else to do it. This isn't about waiting for someone else to get started. This is about having the truth set you free, because a clear and logical response is really, really needed at this time. And all in all, I'm feeling with these two cards together, because this can sometimes be like an aha moment, like a strike of clarity, and like a decision that kind of just flies out of nowhere that you make, and this ball just starts rolling, and there's like a sudden force of energy change here. So this isn't a passive card. There's, I feel like, gonna be a strong sense of movement going on very soon. And I think I don't have specifics about your situation, but I do feel like if you think things are kind of stuck and moving slowly, it's going to change. And I think there's going to be like, I feel like a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Like there's going to be a crack through these kinds of cards. Like, I don't know, I'm getting a definite change of energy than I was getting for these cards previously. So what we were saying earlier about justice, the Ace of Swords is also about being honest and true. So now is not a time to lie. It's not a time to hide away anything that needs to be said. Air the things out, because the more you suppress them, the worse the situation will get. And lastly, as your far future card, which I'm so excited to read, because I feel like I'm anticipating this big breakthrough moment, like what's gonna happen, how's it gonna go down. And you've got the Star card, which is literally one of the best cards you can get. Oh my goodness. So if you can relate to this reading, then great, because it's just gonna get really good for you. And I think the Star card, just look, she is comfortable as hell. She's amongst the stars. She keeps the hope and the dream alive. She has big dreams, and she works for them, and she works on them. This also is relating for what I can read in your spread. Like, I think you will be figuring out a solution to some form of crisis or finding success afterwards. And this is, again, taking a chance. So with these two in your future, really work for you here, because I think luck's going to be on your side, and it's just going to kind of be waiting. And I don't know if you believe in luck and if you believe in fate, but I think a certain thing that you want, now is a good time, or it soon will be a good time. And I think now is the best time more than ever for you to do the action and take the chances and build towards something, because not only is good hard work going to give you the thing that you want in life, that's just a general rule of life, the odds are also going to be in your favor. So it's going to work even doubly as amazing as it would have if you did the same thing last year, for example. Also, this is about letting go of your past. You've had a few cards that relate to that, but I wasn't sure if to bring them up. But for sure, there's something going on about past, having to let go of the past. I mean, you had the Death card. That Lost card is also about grieving over the past. You've had the reflecting card, which is reflecting over the past. A lot of like previous stuff has just been, it's just not necessary now, you know, and it especially won't be in the future, because this is what it will bring you once you do that, you know. She's cool, she's calm, she's collected. It's peace that you may not have felt in a long time, but it's also about being grateful. So you need to remember to be grateful in that position when you reach there. But she also doesn't reach there without faith, so keep on holding on to that faith. You need to shoot for the stars, and the attitude is everything. If you think you can, anything is possible. If you think you can't, then you will remain stuck for life. So, really nice reading here. Now, I think it's really important for you to focus on some really pinpoint goals that you want in your life, not generic ones like, I want to earn £2 million next month. Like, you have to work out how you're going to do that, where you're going to do that, all of the little steps it's going to take you to get there, because even though that goal sounds ridiculous, you can make it happen. There are ways about it. There are millionaires that exist out there today. But what I'm saying is, you can't just like throw something out there and expect it to come to you. You've got to really think, feel, believe, and drive yourself into each of those steps and bash down the list of all the things that you want to do to get to where you want to be. I think you had, this can be a meditation card, and so can this one. So it's about, like I said, you don't need to sit there and meditate like a traditional like meditation image you get in your head when someone says meditate, but you can just be like reflecting over what it is that your soul wants and what your heart needs and what you really truly desire as a person. And I think the odds will be in your favor, which is so exciting, Ali. Oh my god. So we're just going to finish off now with the future spread. This will just give me one card in each position, starting off with home, work, relationships, and money. So how are things going to look for you? This also will really help because that was a general reading, so like I don't really know which specifics it points to, and sometimes the same cards can come up, or very similar cards can come up in one of these positions, and it will tell me like, oh, that was probably referring to your home life, or no, that was referring to money. So starting off with home, ooh, you have the Devil. In the future, when it comes to the Devil card, it's just making you be aware of something that might be quite attractive or appealing to you that won't in the long run be good for your own personal growth. So once again, you need to, meditation will be really good for this because it will help you really stay in tune with what you want from life, whether what you're doing is healthy, blah blah blah, because this can sometimes be a bit about illusions, because this can sometimes be a little bit about being attracted to something that isn't right for you for the wrong reasons. So kind of think things through and don't be kind of blinded by something that isn't really what it is, if that makes sense, because he can be linked to addictions and things that kind of make you emotionally stuck to something. There's something linked to your home life that might have to ask you to really self-examine yourself right now. The Devil can usually represent people that are like users and takers, not good for what you hope to accomplish. But like, you need to remember, this can be minimized. The chains around those people's necks are actually very, very loose, and they could actually take them off and walk away if they really want to. So these things can be minimized or avoided if you work hard on spotting the areas in your life which in a way you might lie to yourself just to get by or to get along. So self-examination is definitely needed to move forward with confidence. So this might be people that you surround yourself in the home life who you kind of feel restricted to and bound to. When it comes to relationships in the Devil, if there's relationships in the home, it might seem alright at first, but this is never like a long-term satisfying feeling. Usually after a while it becomes a bit sour, you become somebody's slave and all of that sort of stuff, because it can be control issues and stuff. But if this Devil card is representing more of the actual physical home, you might be bound to like restrictions, and you might want to be more set free for something. You might want to kind of break free from the home life. You might be addicted to something, or this is sometimes self-indulging in something, so make sure that's not going unaware. Like I said, I keep saying this, meditation is really good. Try and tune in with your intuition a bit more. When you have like a hunch about something, when you have a feeling about something, listen to it, because it's your heart trying to tell you what to do. And I think you might know what that is referring to. And if there is something in the back of your mind, but you're like, oh, it's probably not that, then it probably is, because the Devil card is that kind of card that will come up when you're in a reading about something and you're like, oh, I hope that thing doesn't come up, because like that's something that I don't really want to think or talk about, and then the next minute the devil will come up because it knows. And the things that you suppress are the exact same things that you should be addressing, ironically. But anyway, we'll do work now. Work. Okay, so this is a typical work kind of card to get. Seven of Pentacles is a hard-working card. This is a lot of work that's been done, that's manifested into physical things. So that's finance, money, obviously, same thing. Physical things, projects that suddenly show for themselves, things that are growing into something that you've worked hard on, and they have finally a thing to show for themselves. So he is looking over all of those things that he's grown and developed and made and worked on, but he does have a little bit of a concerned look on his face, because he's either, there's one of many things this can link to. He's either bored, he's either like done with the things that he's made. He's grown some great things, but he's like, what now? I kind of want to make something else, I want to do something else, I want to change direction. And this could link a little bit to your Death card about quitting something and going somewhere else. Or it's just not very satisfied with the stuff he's grown. You know, it might not be what he expected it to be. The work he made might not have shown the results that he got. Or maybe things are growing very slowly. Either one that this could link to the most. I feel like he's just kind of done with that area that he has worked so hard on. Sure, the things are shown for themselves, and you need to remember to be grateful for the things that you've shown. Don't kind of walk off in a different direction and forget the hard work and what you created with that hard work gave you in the past, because we need to always remember the things that we've done, because that's when you get into this kind of crazy spiral of like never being content about stuff and forgetting all the things that you've done with your life. You need to always stay in touch with the wonderful things that you've achieved as a person. It's okay to be bored, it's okay to step aside and do something else. Just celebrate the things that you've created and grown. It might be a slow process, or it might not necessarily show the results exactly as you expected them to be. However, they will definitely grow. There's going to be a new kind of path of continued growth. It will flourish, and you right now in your workspace expect new things to develop, and they will only do so if you continue to dedicate yourself. Relationships now. There's some good, the conflict card has come up again, so there's a little bit of bashing heads. I'm seeing lots of enthusiasm, like as in lots of movement, and kind of not necessarily the best kind of enthusiasm, because there's just lots of energy in the air when it comes to different opinions. And the only thing with this card coming up in the future, I would say to really be careful about anything that you might end up regretting. And I feel like there's a lot of regret in your environment anyway, so having this in your relationships too, there's obviously a lot of regret going on in the air for whatever reason. There is future conflict, and sometimes unavoidable conflict. So really to see this in your future is good, because right now you can assess already what could possibly lead to any form of conflict, and think about it now to prepare for the future. So there's always going to be some form of conflict around us, like no matter how peaceful as a person we are. Stay in tune with the harmony that you desire so much, and remember what I said about any truthfulness that needs to be spoken. Say your piece, say what you need and believe that should be said and be spoken about. Like, don't let these other people hush you down, but then step away when another opinion doesn't really need to be added to the mix. Like, as long as you don't let other people walk over you, voice your opinion, say what you need to say, maybe do your bit to work out how you can kind of make these different people's opinions work in a way they haven't tried before. Because I feel like with this card, it's always they're doing the same thing, and none of their actions are going anywhere. They're just kind of like flying these wands about. So it depends if you feel like you're able to step in and kind of be the leader in a way, and try and help the situation. But the minute that you feel like it's too toxic and not helping you anymore, not serving you anymore, that's when you should step away. Money, you've got Two of Cups for money. My sister once had this card, Two of Cups, with her finance situation, and it blew my little brain off because I was trying to work out why it's linked in it anyway. But I come to the conclusion with Two of Cups in finance, it's just about balance, because it's two people, well, each person has a cup of their own, and they're kind of sharing what they've got in their cup with the other person. So to me, I thought it meant like sharing money with somebody, like having a joint bank account, that kind of thing. I mean, it could be that you might come together with someone to build up on your finances together as a unit, but also this is just about balancing out the money that you have. You may not necessarily have a lot of money right now, but really, and if I haven't said the word balance enough in this reading already, this is about balancing funds, maintaining as well. This isn't about making any massive investments right now. Once again, everything in your reading is saying about not making rash decisions, but this is again saying no, don't make any rash decisions. It's not a good idea at this time to overspend as well. So really focus in on whether your outcome and your income is nicely balanced out. Take a look at your bank account right now and see if there is a nice flow of in and out, and not like crazy up and down. And yeah, maybe even come together with somebody who might have a little bit more knowledge when it comes to budgeting and finance. Sometimes this can just represent seeing a financial advisor for something, if you're wondering about that, whether that's if you're working within something new. Like for instance, if someone was starting their own business, they would have to go and see someone who knows a lot to do with taxes and being a self-employed person, like communicating with someone who knows a lot more on the new matter that you're currently dipping into and experiencing. I really hope this helped. I really hope it gave you some clarity, made you feel excited, a bit better. I didn't use any of the other cards in the end from the other deck. I didn't really feel like I needed to. So I'm excited for you, and I hope that this helped you. I'm really excited for you. All the best, and let me know if you've got any questions, and just pop by anytime you want another reading.